Hello, my friends. On the vast steppe, herds of sheep and millions of goats are moving in the footsteps of nomadic herders. This is an extremely majestic and impressive scene, demonstrating the bond between humans and nature. In today's video, we will find out how they manage and take care of such a huge herd of livestock. Raising sheep and goats is a traditional profession of many nomadic peoples around the world. The purest and most famous nomads are found in the vast arid belts, passing through North Africa, Arabia, Iran, Turkestan, Tibet, and Mongolia. These nomads were leading their flocks of sheep to where they expected to find grass. Sheep travel long distances, eating natural plants and herbs. Nomadic sheep are often healthier than farm-raised sheep. This is because nomadic sheep are exposed to many different types of bacteria and viruses, which helps them develop immunity. The living environment and close natural activities are the reasons why nomadic sheep have better meat and wool quality, and often have higher economic value than farm-raised sheep. With a large number like this, nomads often let their livestock freely forage. They just need to follow behind to control the number, or stand in a high place to observe the situation and make sure there is no danger. The basic characteristics of the nomadic lifestyle are pastures, animals for breeding, survival, and movement. Together, these can provide the basic materials people need for food, clothing, and shelter. Food comes from dairy products and meat. While the men of the family bring the animals to the grazing area, the women or the elderly will stay here to prepare food. In makeshift tents, these nomads are trying to stay on the grasslands with their livestock. They left a special mark in the mountains and steppes where they passed. This wandering results from forage and water needs, which tend to be cyclical. And the sheep will follow routes that have long been established by nomads. They hope the sheep can develop in the best way without being affected by the harsh natural environment. You see, if raising livestock on farms is supported by modern technology, nomads must equip themselves with knowledge about the weather, soil, trees, and wildlife. They must also be able to lead and manage large herds of livestock. Above all, nomads need hard work and endurance, because their daily life is associated with sheep, grasslands, and cold, dark nights like this. For nomads, sleep is quite simple. They only need a blanket to fight the cold outdoors. These nomads will sleep next to their sheep to promptly protect them. When coming to rainy areas, nomads will rest in temporary tents like this. This is another important characteristic of nomadic tribes. They do not build any permanent houses to live in, instead they rely on tents. And nomads prioritize choosing tents with a compact design for easy disassembly and transportation like this. The long distance with many rocky slopes and mountain slopes is quite harsh for humans. After resting and eating, the nomad climbed onto the saddle and continued his journey. These are herding dogs, effective assistants of nomadic herders. They help grazing livestock follow the farmer's wishes. At the same time, it protects livestock from predators or warns herders about potential dangers in the grazing area. Free movement of sheep in grazing areas is the traditional management method of nomadic activity. The food will be GMO-free for animal feed. Everything you are seeing is a natural journey. The forest belt of Central Asia extended from 800 to 1600 km, and the southern belt of steppes stretched from Hungary to Mongolia, supporting the growth of nomadic empires. In there are herds of goats like this. Nomadic goat farming is a traditional way of life that has existed for thousands of years. It provides an important source of food and income for many ethnic minorities around the world. Here, goats are raised nomadically, mainly for meat and milk. Similar to sheep farming, in spring, when the weather is warm and rainy, nomadic herders can move their herds to highlands where there is plenty of grass. In the summer, when the weather is hot and dry, they can move their herds to lowlands where there is plenty of shade and water. Nomadic herders strive to minimize their impact on the environment. Therefore, after eating, drinking, and resting, they move their livestock to another land so as not to damage the vegetation and soil. Sunset gradually disappears behind the mountains, and when night falls, the real danger begins. Predators are always waiting for the opportunity to attack livestock. When dawn comes, nomads and herding dogs prepare to continue the day. Like a protector, he always follows closely behind his herd. When a predator attacks, the gun on his shoulder is a great weapon to protect the goats. The 45-year-old nomad said he was used to this lifestyle and couldn't live any other way. Traveling through the mountains, grazing herds of livestock, and hearing the bells of goats is wonderful. It was the only thing he had done since he was a child, and he would also teach these things to the children in the family. Unlike intensive livestock farming, in the nomadic system, no animal cruelty such as tail docking, dehorning, and tethering were allowed. Therefore, animal welfare is not much harmed compared to intensive farming. Their lifestyle is precarious because constant migration makes it impossible to transport food reserves or other necessities. Nomadic herders often create good relationships with settled people in some areas, who they will exchange for goods to sustain their journeys. You can see, with these natural, even somewhat wild farming methods, nomadic herders have been able to raise millions of livestock, and they play a vital role in maintaining natural ecosystems and providing a source of food and income for many people around the world. In the modern world, the nomadic herders of West Asia and Central Asia are one of the few remaining minorities. They are facing many challenges, severe weather events, causing serious damage to livestock and breeders' property. However, they still stubbornly stick to their traditional profession. In the small makeshift tent on the prairie, the fire still flickered and burned forever. It is similar to the nomads' love for livestock and vast grasslands. Hello, my friends. Australia is known as one of the world's leading agricultural producers. In this success, there is a significant contribution from the livestock industry. In today's video, let's find out how the cattle farming industry in Australia developed. The total area of Australia is about 2.9 million acres. However, Australia's agricultural land area only accounts for 1% of the total, of which 1/3 is used to grow food and up to 2/3 is grasslands. Will this huge amount of grasslands become a weakness for Australian agriculture? The answer is no. Australian farmers have been taking advantage of those grasslands to raise livestock. Because Australia has a territory spanning many different climate belts, there is an allocation of livestock breeds to each specific region. This solution ensures that livestock breeds meet natural conditions and have good growth and development. From temperate regions like the arid grasslands of Australia, we easily see images of sheep like this. They are common in areas such as New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and Western Australia. The reason sheep are loved by farmers in Australia is because they are adaptable to weather conditions. The size of the sheep herd on each farm often changes regularly to accommodate changes in weather conditions, fluctuations in wool prices, and profitability. Farmers often liken them to machines that convert grass into meat and wool. You see, this thinking is completely reasonable when the economic value that sheep brings is so great. Currently, Australia is the largest wool producing country in the world, accounting for about 32% of the world's total wool production. Say goodbye to sheep for wool. Let's go to the farm in Southeast Australia. This is the home to more than 740 sheep. Here they will be fed on improved pastures or raised on crop farms. This is a sheep's close friend in the fields. They are intelligent, agile, alert, and highly protective of their territory. That's why farmers use herding dogs to protect their sheep throughout this journey. In addition to supplementing quality pellets and hay, farmers also utilize agricultural products on the farm, such as cornflakes, as weaning food for sheep. A sheep farmer with 9 years of experience shared that the way they saved about 1/3 of the total food costs for each flock. Before your eyes is an image of a lamb processing plant with automated technology in JBS Bordertown. Previously, lamb was just a small niche in the livestock sector. It now really creates a big potential market for Australian farmers. They surpass all competitors with strict animal welfare regulations, controls, and traceability for all livestock exports. That is also the reason why the quality of lamb in Australia is always considered the best in the world. Currently, about 1/3 of Australian sheep meat production is exported to the US and major markets including the Middle East, the European Union, and China. Say goodbye to the sheep. Now let's go to the goat farms in southern Australia. Australia produces about 28,400 tonnes of goats in 2022. However, 80% of the production will be exported to overseas market because this meat is not a popular choice for Australian consumers. They can be raised freely or in captivity, depending on the economic conditions of the farm. Compared to other types of livestock, goats do not take up much space. You can keep up to 7 goats in the same area that you need for 1 cow. Besides this, goats do not need much medical care, and they can eat sheep food and still grow healthily. That is why the cost of raising goats is always lower than the cost of raising other types of livestock, such as sheep or beef cattle. These baby goats will drink mother's milk for at least 6 weeks before switching to mixed feed to avoid digestive problems. This farmer is mixing feed for goats. This mixture usually includes forage, barley, and pellets at a rate of 1/3 of a pound per day for the young goats and 1/2 pound for adult goats to increase growth. In addition, they will eat more grass as an additional meal on grazing areas. You see, unlike cows, goats are very active animals. They can jump and scale fences as a way of playing. Therefore, both indoor and outdoor barns need to prepare sturdy fences, at least 3 feet high. Victoria and Queensland are the leaders in goat meat production and slaughter in Australia. In addition to the 2 states mentioned before, farmers in South Australia have also tended to increase goat meat production in the past 2 years. Livestock facilities are often located near agricultural production in the area. This allows farmers to not spend too much on transportation costs. The largest breeding facility in Australia is located in southern Queensland and can feed up to 75,000 animals at any given time. Australia's total cattle herd is currently about 29.3 million heads. The livestock industry in this country creates jobs for about 258,000 workers throughout the chain, from livestock farming to processing and retail. Not only is it strong in sheep and goat farming, Australia also produces 4% of global beef output and accounts for about 16% of world trade. The major markets for this product are usually China, Japan, the United States, Korea, and Indonesia. Now we come to Queensland, which accounts for 46% of Australia's total cattle population. Grasslands are where the production system begins. They spend at least 1/3 of the day in the grasslands. This process is where beef cattle convert food into body weight, and then later into the cuts of beef we love to see on the supermarket shelves. The main strength of the Australian beef industry is its green and clean, disease-free image. The application of modern technology has helped Australia improve access to many markets around the world. One of the applications most talked about by Queensland farmers is virtual fences. Thanks to this application, cattle are grazed in a controlled manner based on sound signals and sensors. In addition, each beef cow will be given an identifying ear tag when they are young. NLIS can track their progress through the National Livestock Identification System. At the same time, they will handle it as quickly as possible if an epidemic occurs. The life cycle of beef cattle begins on the pasture and ends in the processing plant. Here, beef is processed and cut according to the safest procedures. The product is then carefully packaged and frozen at -30 degrees Celsius before being ready to be brought to consumers. Today's trip to explore farms gave us a different perspective on the livestock industry in Australia. Although natural conditions are not favourable for agricultural development, with all the efforts to combine science and technology, Australia has become one of the leading agricultural countries in the world.